This is definitely the most fun grammar program I have ever seen. Hi everyone, welcome back to Project Happy Home. For those of you who are new here, I'm Tanya, a doctor, lawyer turned homeschool mom of 3 kids ages 10, 7, and 5. If you're interested in videos about secular homeschooling, raising a child with ADHD, and living a more essentialist lifestyle, you have come to the right place, so be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. In today's video, I'm really excited to be able to show you the interior of Beowulf's Grammar, which is a guest hollow curricula. If you're not familiar with guest hollow, I really do recommend that you check it out. They have a wide variety of different curricula programs that I think are very well thought out and considered, and if you like a literature-based curricula that involves pulling a lot of living literature, it's definitely a curriculum company that people don't talk about as much as they should. So everything about Guest Hollow will be linked in the description box down below. Be sure to check them out. Far more than just a grammar program, they have several other curricula in language arts, as well as science, as well as geography and history, etc. This is Beowulf's Grammar that I'm going to show you here. Now, this is the teacher's manual, which I will start with, and this hefty pile is actually the printouts for your student. Now you can see it's very colorful. I do apologize about the color. My printer was doing something strange and not printing its blues properly, so the colors are a little bit off. It's very vibrant and beautiful. I will show you some of these pages later. The reason I have not bound these into like part 1 through 4, the way you get your PDF, is because I plan to split these up into weekly folders this year, but I will show you them nonetheless, just to give you a flip through of how the curriculum works. Now, Beowulf's Grammar is actually designed for grades 2 through 6, so wherever you want to fit this in, you can. It's designed to be a 33-week program. I bound this myself using my ProClick. I know a lot of you have asked how I use my ProClick, and I keep forgetting to film it when I'm actually doing this. It's very simple. It's a wonderful device. I will link it down in the description box down below as well. You have to buy the ProClick as well as these spines, but it's a great way to bind your programs at home. So the author of this program has spent over 20 years homeschooling when this was created, and she talks about how she used a multitude of grammar programs, and what they seemed to have in common was that they were incredibly boring. So this is a curriculum that I would classify more as like an interactive notebooking type of style, so that the student has cutting and pasting and work with their hands to do as they're learning the grammar skills, which is unusual for a grammar program. So the teacher's manual has copies of almost all of the workbook pages that were in the giant pile that I showed you previously, which is really nice because I love it when answer keys are like this and they actually just show the workbook page reproduced with the answers. It also includes extra ideas for you to do, optional ideas that are intended for you to help your student with, but it's really up to you. Just to let you know, if you're interested in using Beowulf's Grammar, you can definitely use it as a standalone grammar program, which is what I'm planning on doing next year, but you can also look into their language arts curriculum that uses this as one of the spines and also includes a lot of other books to like round out your study for language arts, including readers, etc. There is a 33-week schedule, but you can definitely use it at your own pace. You can even use it over several years if you wanted to. You could smush it into one semester if you have a student who's older. But the schedule she lays out for you is in 33 weeks. And if you look here, you can see exactly how it's laid out. So you have one table per week. So here you have week 1. It talks about what the topics are, and then it splits it out into 5 days. So you can see here, for example, with week 21, there's the topic there. There's a row for workbook sheets that the student has to work on, a workbook activity. So here on day 3, you have a workbook activity, as well as a review sheet 3 times a week. And then teacher's guide has another row. So on day 4, you might want to look at page 78 of the teacher's guide and look at that printable that's offered to you there. So I appreciate the clarity of the description there for your teacher's guide. A lot of the pages you'll see have this type of cartoon format, which I think kids find really engaging, this comic book type of format. I'm not going to go into specifics about every single activity, but this beginning does give you a good idea of what the teacher guide offers you. So not only will you have these copies of what your student will be seeing in the student workbook, you'll also have a description for you. So here you have a description of what those pages are here, and extra ideas, which are optional ideas that you can do to further enrich the program. So here, discuss the difference between fiction and nonfiction, write a story about how Beowulf learned to read, paint a picture with words, describe a scene or painting. You can do it orally, like just as a narration. How does your family express itself? Do you call names? Do you verbally argue? Talking about these things is really interesting. It's a little bit of like social skills too, right? Discussing and looking up Greek and Latin roots. English from the Roots Up is like a recommended book for learning vocabulary here. I actually have that. If you want to see that, let me know in the comments down below. So all of these extra ideas gives you a way to enrich the program, particularly if you are dealing with teaching like a second grader as well as a fifth grader at the same time. You can kind of grade up or down. So here's a printable about how Beowulf learned to read. You are welcome to print that out from the PDF again for your student, and then they can put it into their learning notebook or what have you. Here you have painting a picture with words and then questions. So like, what time of day is it? What are some of the main colors you see, etc. So very Charlotte Mason-y in its style here with looking at pictures. Pages 5 and 6 are some of the pages that I think are the cutest in here because you and your child can cut out an actual Beowulf. So you see here in your workbook, and you can create a little box here, and that makes a little interactive item for you to practice your different parts of speech throughout the year, like prepositions in the box, out of the box, around the box, beside the box, etc. So really nice little activity straight out of the gate. Page 7 introduces your child to different parts of speech. Again, you can see it right here. And then there's extra ideas like adding these words to your child's spelling program, figuring out how many syllables there are. I like how it's holistic and it tries to do different language arts activities even with just the introduction of the 8 parts of speech. The next page is actually designed to be a poster that you can put up so your student can see it frequently. And I'm just going to go through now and show you some of the pages that I think illustrate best the style of this curricula. So for example, when you have this page on nouns, it talks about where the name comes from, that it's from the Latin word nomen, that nomen means name. It talks about common nouns and proper nouns. Once you get to page 10, you actually have a little game that you can play with the student. You can play I Spy around the room. You can also ask them what they notice about these different words. So here you have an activity that's designed to be like an open and close flap activity. These are the top of the flaps that will get glued down onto here, and the student will cut out all of these words and put them in the appropriate locations to learn about different types of nouns. The next page has an interesting little noun treasure hunt. You can make a 3-dimensional treasure chest here. It has really clear instructions with what you do and how to do it. So the way the treasure hunt works is that if you cut out all of these different cards that say things like a proper noun, a thing, a place, a food, a plural noun, etc., your child will write down something from their own environment or classroom that fits that on the back of the card, and they've captured that card, so they get to put it into their treasure chest. So again, a really cute activity, a nice way of doing that, like much more fun than just making a list, right, of proper nouns. And here you have a recipe of nouns. So once you fill in all these things in the same order, you kind of do a Mad Lib, and you fill in the words that you've come up with so that you have a fun little recipe Mad Lib. So the way that she's made every single activity a little bit different is really creative. Here again, you have something about plural nouns, and it's a descriptive page, like a learning page that the student can keep with them always. And then you have plural nouns here. So here you have a coloring activity. It actually ends up like a swan for plural nouns. And I'm just going to go through here real fast instead of the workbook pages so you can see that you have a page of a crossword puzzle, then you have a more typical workbook page. You have a review page that comes after that. You have a grammar page, again with a comic book story. So I'm going to skip ahead to that comic book story, which you can see here. And the text is complicated enough that I think that my first grader, my rising first grader, wouldn't be able to read it by herself, but my second grader definitely could. So that's around where the reading level is for the comic. So I'm going to flip through this quickly just to show you the variety of different pages that your student will see. There are extra ideas like making a pizza when you do the workbook about the pizza activity. There's drawing activities as well as they're learning. You can see how every like 10 pages or so there's another grammar comic page. This is an animal report cover that's very cute. It has prompts to describe exactly how they should look up an animal report help sheet. I think the care that went into the different types of activities in this curricula is incredible, actually, looking through it in more detail now. So I especially appreciate that so many of the descriptive pages or teaching pages are laid out like posters, so you could save them in a grammar notebook that you make for your child Here you have contractions, so you're trying to like cut out the bones and band-aids and perform surgery by cutting off the letters that don't belong. So for example, are not becomes aren't, and the band-aid is the apostrophe that cuts through the letter you don't need, the not, right? The O in that. So that's a really interesting activity. It goes on with helping verbs. You're going to have like a little cube that you make. I think the graphics are very engaging. Beowulf is very sweet. Interjections, where the student can put in their own interjections. That's a great idea. So as you can see, you have a huge variety of activities mixed with really solid grammar rules. You also have the beginning of sentence diagramming, and that's a nice skill as well, especially if you're going to do classical homeschooling grammar programs later, because they all have sentence diagramming in them for the most part. By the time you get to the end, you actually start to have review. So you have review week 2 and so on and so forth. The reviews are optional. You can do them or not. It is really up to you. Let me show you them in the student workbook. So these are some of the review pages. They all print out in the part 4 of your workbook. And so you have simple reviews. So these are the sheets that you would be doing on the Monday, Wednesday, Friday in your schedule. And it just kind of reviews the topic in a swift fashion. So it reviews the past week's topics as you go along. So you have a little spiral activity there as you learn. Although the teacher guide showed you a lot of these excellent pages, I just want to show you them in full size so that you get a better idea of how these worksheets are laid out. Here you have something that could be used as a project where you tape the front of the card to the back of the card and it acts like a little flashcard for you, which I think is great. This is the drawing a dragon activity that I showed you before. It gives you just a fun side thing to do, right? Drawing a dragon, because you're reading a story about a dragon as this is going on. You have a little story about a rabbit. I think it says Mr. McGregor, so I think it has something to do with Peter Rabbit. Again, a gluing activity. Here you get to create a menu and you make everything sound appetizing and delicious, I imagine, with using adjectives. Here you have the little band-aid apostrophe that you're putting on to make contraction. Another kind of cutting and gluing activity. Here's a review. Helping verbs and a 3-dimensional cube that you would be creating. The grammar comic. I think this program is really remarkable. The more I look at it, the better I like it and the more excited I am to use it for next year. I think my rising 2nd, 3rd grader will love it. She's like 3rd grade level math, 2nd grade level language arts, and I think this is going to be just perfect for her. She's a strong reader, but she could definitely work on her grammar skills and things like contractions, getting comfortable with using adjectives, making her writing rich and full. And here, right around in the 140s, you're starting to do simple sentence diagramming. Here you have rolling a sentence, which I think is very cute, I'm sure. So there's all these game activities that you can do. So here you have some adjectives. On the last one you had verbs. Here you have adverbs. And that's just a really fun way of kids to build sentences and learn like the different parts of speech. You have prepositions, so you're connecting them here with rings. All of this visual reinforcement is amazing. A song here, so you have lots of different modalities of learning being addressed. The auditory learner, the visual learner, the one who needs that physical activity of cutting and pasting and gluing things down. Here's a memory game to play. So what I would relate this curriculum to in a way is how Right Start is like a game-based way of learning math. I think this is sort of a game-based way of learning grammar. It's games and activities almost every day, not just randomly, not once a month, not at the end of the chapter, but really almost every activity is somehow entertaining. And my middle daughter is definitely someone who loves that. Oh, she's going to be thrilled by the toucan. It's her favorite bird. So I'm just going to flip through as I talk about it. Again, I'll link all of this information down below. I think it's a great company. I think they really work hard at the curriculum and making it something that's usable for homeschoolers. As homeschoolers themselves, they have a lot of experience in what kids like to do and what they don't like to do, what they will sit for and what they won't sit for, what actually makes the material stick and what makes it just sort of a chore and drudgery. And this is definitely not drudgery. This is definitely the most fun grammar program I have ever seen. If you guys are interested in this, again, I'm linking everything in the description box down below. If you do end up buying something from Guest Hollow, let them know that Tanya over at Project Happy Homes sent you. I would love to review more of their products for you. And so let me know if there's anything in particular that you're interested in seeing, and I will reach out to them and see if I can do that. I am thoroughly impressed, you guys. I looked through this in depth right now with you guys, and I'm thoroughly impressed. So this is Guest Hollow's Beowulf Grammar for grades 2 through 6. Super fun. If you're interested, everything will be linked down in the description box below. I really do appreciate your time. Thank you for spending some of it with me. Thank you to Guest Hollow for letting me have this for review. And I wish you guys the very best day. Thanks so much.